think I might be up with some Fairview updates. Yeah. And I always get breaking news when I'm on that commuter train, and I can't make slides very well on my phone. These don't look as pretty, but I just threw them up there because, it is breaking news. This is the letter that went out from the Planning and Zoning Committee in Fairview, letting everybody know, because they're required to notify that, hey, an application has been submitted and we're going to have this meeting, and, everybody show up, give your input. So you have the letter there, and then you have, a drawing of the grounds. If you were to scroll in, there's all kinds of information, because we don't know much about what they're planning for lighting or sewage or traffic or landscaping, all those details that they had never really put in before. Now they're starting to fill in all those blanks. So this is
an especially large place for all the people who will want to show up.
Well, no, and we're going to talk about that. It's going to be kind of interesting. In the past, at their own expense, the town of Fairview has rented a hall and, fire, police, the kind of infrastructure that you need when you're going to have a massive crowd. And they didn't do this time. And as we're going to find out in 2 slides, they probably should have. So here is a rendering. We finally get to see it in color. The rendering of the McKinney Texas temple. Still not sure if that's the actual name. I don't know about that. But earlier in their week, there had been kind of some talk that, is there another application of an even shorter temple? There had been some discussion that something else had been bet forward. Of course, I was very interested in that. But what it kind of turned out to be is just some discussion of the fact that if you see there, the tower goes to 78 feet. The tower, meaning like the architectural structure, the stone, and then the spire goes up the remainder up to 120. So to me, that's really good news, because that spire, is very thin, unless they put, as they said at that one meeting, is there going to be a golden dude on top? One of the residents asked that when he was talking to at one of the planning and zoning meetings. I don't think there's going to be a golden dude up there. So just a spire. So that's
I know golden dude. I like the golden dude.
The golden dude is awesome. I know. Very funny. So anyway, so here we have the actual application, the actual rendering. And this is exciting because we've been waiting for a long time for this. This means the process can get started. This has been put before planning and zoning. Next thing we're going to do is move on to that meeting, that is coming up the end of the month. Now, interestingly, of course, whenever you have a planning and zoning or a town council meeting in any of these towns, what do you get? You get letters from the church, from the stake, out to the members, right? Mm-hmm. So here is the letter that went out to multiple stakes. We're not just talking Fairview. It's quite the radius, right, of people. So this letter that I came across was sent out to the Frisco, Texas stake, neighboring area, but still in the McKinney, Texas temple districts. It's hard for people to understand. Why are you interested in this temple in this town? The district, fans out and covers multiple areas, multiple stakes. So it says, dear members of the McKinney Temple District, we're reaching out, hopefully for the last time. Yes, we hope, don't we? To ask for your support at the upcoming Fairview Planning and Zoning and Town Council meetings. The Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Thursday, April 24th at 7 p.m. So this is right around the corner. This is very quick. And the town council meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, April 29th at 6 p.m. This is all Central Time. The meetings will be held in the council chambers at Fairview Town Hall. This is what you were mentioning, RFM. This is just a regular size town hall city meeting kind of a thing, not the venue they rented before because they were expecting so many people. Please be aware that this is a smaller venue with limited seating, so attendees may need to stand or remain outside. The meeting is expected to last several hours. Feel free to come and go as your schedule allows. There's no need to stay for the entire time. Our main goal is to show support for the temple. We invite everyone to in support of the temple, to wear, wait for it, a blue shirt. Okay. All the other meetings, they were asked to wear a white shirt. And I've been thinking about this. Why now a blue shirt? That is what they wore in Lone Mountain when they showed up en masse at all of the meetings. Now it's Fairview residents' turn to wear the blue shirt. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Maybe it's good luck.
Do you think? Do you think it could be good luck? Or is it that wearing white shirts, a lot of people wore the white shirts that they had, which were Sunday shirts. Maybe it looked too much like a religious organization, coming into a town, throwing their weight around. I don't know. I have lots of different theories. Anyway, wear your blue shirt to both meetings. We also kindly ask that you refrain from making public comment during the proceedings, as our goal is to help the meeting run as smoothly and as efficiently as possible. We expect the individuals from Fairview will provide relevant remarks on our behalf. So people in the surrounding areas are not going to talk. The Fairview Idians, if that's what I can call them, are going to be the ones that speak up for the temple, the LDS members. And of course, members of Fairview United will also be making comments. This is why we're going to cover it, right? It's going to be very interesting. We expect that, okay, even if you don't have an opportunity to speak, your presence alone will make a meaningful statement. I think it will. In a small venue with many, many, many blue shirts, I think that will make a meaningful statement. It'll be interesting.
It's very important to have as many people as you can possible at this meeting where the fix is already in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. So it goes on to say, if you can't be there, it's going to be live streamed. It'll be interesting to see if they live stream it into stake centers. They have done this before, which is very interesting. Sort of a church and statey kind of thing, isn't it? For the latest information, go to this website. So I thought that was very interesting. There's always a letter like that. There's always something, of course, as they have the right to do. And I wanted to remind everybody that we on the newscast, I don't know what color shirts we're going to wear, but we are going to be live streaming this, and we're going to put out more information about that. But
I'll wear my green Fairview shirt.
Yeah, we all have Fairview shirts. You can choose white shirts, blue shirts, red shirt, who knows, Dr. Seuss. Anyway, so this will be on the 24th, and we'll get some more information out about that, but put that on your calendar. And then very quickly afterwards, the town council. So a little more news just on 2 more temples, and then we'll move on to our next story. As you remember with Lone Mountain, that's already a done deal, right? It's over. It's been voted for. But in the meantime, after the temple was approved, there was a new ordinance that was put forward. I've talked about this on the newscast, that lighting can't go over 35 feet in this particular area. Now, that's very interesting because LDS temples tend to be lit to the hilt, right? Lit to Jesus. And, I've noticed, and I live around a lot of temples, it seems to be, I don't know if it's all night long, but it certainly seems to be late into the evening for sure. And then starting very early in the morning. So I happened to come across a review of the plan for the temple that the LDS Church submitted to the city of Las Vegas. So the LDS Church says, here's our plan. And of course, Las Vegas has to do its due diligence, go through every aspect of the plan, ask questions, ask for revisions, look at what the church is planning to do. So this was very interesting to me. I came across this part where it said, add note. Please add this note is what it said. Add a note that any light fixtures or light emitted even on buildings extending above 35 feet shall be turned off between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m., excluding the FAA warning lights, beacons, or other warning lights. And then it gives the place in the plan where they're supposed to add it to sheets number LT, blah, blah, blah. So that tells me, because there was a lot of talk, there are loopholes. The church will get around that. There's no way they're going to put up with that. But, this is interesting to me because here it is on the plans. And the city has said, no, here it is. You better add a note. Don't forget, this is our new ordinance. Now, there might be some trouble with that. It's a new ordinance enacted since the temple was approved. And so I don't know, legally, RFM, what do you think?
They're going to say they were grandfathered in. Something about ex post facto laws being unconstitutional.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that. And I have heard some rumblings that there could be, perhaps the church will sue the town of Vegas over this lighting. I don't know. Hold on to your blue shirts, whatever we have no idea what shirts we're going to need. But I thought that was interesting. That's what's happening in Vegas.
I just wonder, when they get that damn thing built, how many people are going to be going out there trying to gamble and find hookers?
They might end up there by accident, right? Attracted like a moth to the flame, to the light, and think they could find something like that. It's a possibility.
Is it my fault if their wings get burned?
Yeah. I don't know. I like my rendering there though, because, that is what it would look like if they could only light it up to 35 feet. So
those look like 2 pictures that Carrie Shirts took with his new camera.
Has he been sending those to you? Oh my God. They're so good though. We love you, Carrie. They're amazing. So yeah. And I'm sure, as I've talked to other architects that have worked for the church before, That's not what they would do. They would just dim all lights, and turn all lights off below 35 feet. So anyway, but you can see the rendering of it. This is a monster. This is the biggest temple that we have been discussing. It is a monster. And interestingly, in talking to some of the residents there, I was kind of led to believe that the FAA approval is not exactly there yet. There are some stipulations about if a small aircraft has to fly higher over something, that's a problem. And also apparently a lot of rescue landings and things for Lone Mountain over there, right? They have to go in and rescue people that have tried to hike and have problems. So I'm not sure if that will be anything. If anyone in the chat or out there watching knows anything more about FAA regulations, but it certainly made me think of Heber, because that temple, that proposed temple, is right in the flight plan to the Heber airport. I mean, to the point where we thought Moroni might have to be holding, some kind of guiding light. So anyway, we'll see. This is Lone Peak, Nevada, in the Las Vegas area. Our final temple is just brand new, absolutely brand new, just announced at conference.
Right.
Last week. It's the Greenville, South Carolina temple. They already have a logo for it on some of their social media for the stake. They are extremely excited that this temple is coming. And they also have sent out a letter to the members in the area. And I have seen this letter sent out before to other places where a temple is announced. So I feel like this is sort of a form letter, perhaps, or a template that they send out.
It is so weird, isn't it? Go ahead, you read it.
It is really interesting, but I have seen this before. I think I posted it before. Was it Federal Way? I can't remember, but it was somewhere else where something was announced. I've seen this. So it says, Greenville, South Carolina stake, dear members of the stake. Last week, President Nelson announced that the House of the Lord, I keep forgetting to call it House of the Lord and not temple.
It's not just House of the Lord. It's the House of the Lord.
And it's
a capital T.
I told you, they, in behind closed doors, tell everybody that God actually lives there. Jesus
As if there's not over 100 of these suckers.
Yeah, that's right. The House of the Lord will be built in Greenville. We have been instructed by the Church Communications Department. This is why this, I believe, is a form letter. Do not get ahead of the prophet. Don't do that. The timing and specific location where the temple will be built has not yet been announced. It hasn't. It might be 2 years from now. We don't know. We have been asked to refrain from making announcements verbally or online that may reach Mormonish sorry, I just added that may that may go beyond that which we have been given. This is a proactive plan for avoiding unnecessary attacks and oppression. Now that is very interesting to me. If I can just pause there, attacks and oppression.
It is actually opposition, but it is similar.
Oh, it is opposition. Sorry. I don't know why I said oppression. Probably because
Mormons,
I'm so lightheaded.
It's always oppression.
Well, I'm very lightheaded, having not eaten all day. If someone wants to DoorDash me some dinner right now, that would be incredible. So yes, it's opposition. But anyway, the attacks and opposition, it's interesting to me.
Rebecca?
Yes. I'm
looking over here in the live chat. A lot of people are volunteering. They just need your home address.
Oh dear, there you go. No, I was kidding. I'll be fine. It'll be great. So,
Tim Rathbone wants to
as she passes out on the couch, right? Actually, my dog has a little chewy pepperoni stick here that's kind of looking good. So if my camera turns off, that may be what I ended up doing. So anyway, I just want to comment on this attacks and opposition because, that's not why they want to keep it quiet. You see examples like in Cody. The city planner was busy changing codes all through the month of January of 2023 before the announcement came out, and everything moved so quickly. The town had a really hard time even understanding what was happening with the application and what it meant, and it went just instantly to town council or to planning and zoning and was finalized so quickly. It's a stealth move. Look at what happened in Vegas. There were contributions made to council members from the church's law firm, whether it had anything to do with it or not. Codes were being changed prior to the announcement. So it's not attacks and opposition. I think it's the church getting all of its ducks in a row ahead of time before this announcement, because things move so quickly. You can't even imagine. I mean, even the mayors sometimes don't know what's happening. And all of a sudden there's an application, there's a rendering, there's a meeting, and then there's a planning and zoning. It is that fast. So anyway, but their point of view here is that attacks and opposition are going to happen. Let us follow and sustain the first presidency by sharing the good news of the temple announcement while refraining from sharing anything beyond that which the prophet has shared. And the specifics are the location, the timing, etc. Just say we're happy we're getting a temple. Don't mention anything specific. And then it just goes on to talk more about how important the temple is. But I just thought that was very interesting that boom, like that, it goes out. I'd be curious if anyone else is in any of these other stakes where the other temples were announced, if they also received a letter like that. So I think that's the end of my temple news. If you guys have any comments on any parts of that, please go ahead, and then we can go on to our next story.
Yes, we wouldn't want to get ahead of the prophet on anything, would we?
No, we can't see around corners, so we can't even try.
Yes.
It is interesting. In fact, while you started that story, I came across a couple of stories that just broke in the last few hours. Actually, one comes out tomorrow.
Did you know this, Rebecca?
No, I say, damn it, because when I'm on the newscast, I can't be scouring the news. I mean, come on.
You're usually
doing something there. I know you're looking.
I'm only human.
Yep. I was originally going to cover another story that was an article put out by Jenny Smith in the Common Consent blog, but instead I added this. So I'm going to do this instead because it's temple news and I think it's much more important.
Great.
So I'll just note the evening report. This is actually dated April 15th, 2025. So this is
Australia.
Tomorrow. It is because it's Australia. It's tomorrow. And it wasn't just one article, but it was two articles that were covering this.
This really is tomorrow's news today.
It really is. So the newscast is the first to Mormon news. I'll just note the main thing that this article is making, it's an Australian report on the two new temples that have been announced in Australia. They're mentioning that they're secretive, not meaning that the church was keeping these temples from being revealed that they were coming, but rather that things happening there are secretive. And I'll just note the main crux of the article. Local opposition, the air of secrecy and exclusivity surrounding Mormon temples has resulted in a flood of negative attention from Australian media, other religious institutions, and society at large. News reports from as far back as the early 20th century sought to expose Mormon temple secrets. The first temple, built in Sydney in 1984, and we talked about this temple before and all the drama that went into that one. 1984 was widely protested by community groups and organizations. The building had to be modified by the church. That's what we were talking about it in regards to the steeple. Before it was eventually approved, a similar situation transpired in Brisbane in the early 2000s. And then you see the article there about the announcement. This was the 1982 report on the Sydney temple. I'll just note there, in other cities such as Adelaide and Melbourne, temples were not directly protested, but were still critiqued for their lavishness, with the average Australian temple costing around $8 million in the late 1990s, early 2000s. They've probably gone up since then. Given the cost of living crisis that Australia has and contention over a place of religion in contemporary Australia, the two proposed temples will likely also face criticism. And then the next paragraph in the article said, in terms of reputational management, the church's reputation in Australia has become even more complicated over the past 20 years, not least due to several controversies. In 2022 and 2023, The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald reported that the church was allegedly abusing tax laws to the amount of hundreds of millions of dollars. This was addressed but not confirmed or denied in the November 2022 Senate estimates by Australian Tax Office Assistant Commissioner Jeremy Hirschhorn. After questioning by Green Senator David Schoberg, of course, these are all Australian politicians, accusations of tax evasion have also been made in New Zealand and the United States. Other controversies relate to the LGBTQIA plus discriminations, the church's influence in Australia global politics, and allegations resulting from the Royal Commission into child sexual abuse. So Australia seems pretty aware of all the same kind of troubles that the church is getting into over here. The last paragraph says the new Australian temples will be completed under a pall of critiques and accusations around church finances and other controversies. And while they might be briefly open to the public, their doors will just as quickly shut, adding more fuel to the speculation. And so I just wanted to bring this in and just note that the very issues we've been talking about with temples here in the United States, they're running into the same thing over in Australia and seem to, at least on some level, be getting in on the conversation around these early on. So I thought I would at least bring that to your attention.
Wow, that is so interesting because people say, why build so many temples? And one of the answers is it's one of the few places they can get very positive PR, at least for a while, the announcements. And this is not positive at all. Is this a turn where a temple is announced in an area and then all of these, that article hit point after point after point. That's very interesting. And if the church perceives that when they announce a temple and build a temple and have an open house for a temple, there's negative PR, will temple building turn around? I don't know. Yeah.
So I just wanted to finish that up with the temple news, and just note to folks, the Mormon Newscast, where you get tomorrow's news today. And with that, Rebecca, I think the next story is yours as well.
You were reporting on stuff that hasn't even happened yet.
Hasn't even happened yet.
I have FOMO, or as someone else I know who mistakenly calls it FOBLO, fear of being left out, because I always break the temple news first. This is great, though. I love that people watch for it. No,
I had to steal tomorrow's news to do it, but I finally got you.
But you know what I love? I love that people watch for it now. Do you know what I mean? Temple watching was not really on anyone's radar 2 years ago. And I feel just everybody talking about it and understanding what it means and how it's important to be aware of. Everybody watches. It's great. So
you're bringing it back, Rebecca.
I'm bringing it back.
Hence, don't get ahead of the prophet.
Don't go around that corner. Don't do it.